Well, baby, I'm on it with a bottle of wine and an old dirt road. Are you ready to go? Hey, thanks everybody for joining us today on Live Music Nation podcast. I'm your host, Jake Gill. We were with Steve Selak, Selak Entertainment. Steve, thanks for joining us today. Tell us a little bit about your background and a little bit about your agency.
Jake, I was a graduate of University of Denver, and when I got done, I was a bond salesman for a company called Betcher & Company in Denver, which was a big regional firm. I did that for 8 years. It set me up for a good career in the music business because the bond business is a tough business.
Yeah.
You're at your desk at 5 a.m. ready to bite the ass off a bear. And that is a perfect setup for getting into the entertainment business. I moved out here with my wife in '93. I'm from Encino in the Valley. I went to a high school in Pascagoula, Mississippi. And then I moved back to Denver, or went to Denver, and I met my wife there, and we moved to Los Angeles. But I started a record company in 1993 with a partner, a guy named Brian O'Neill from a band called the Bus Boys. Someone may remember from the movie 48 Hours. And I got in '93, and that was a really difficult time. That's the year Napster started, and everything started to unravel. So I paid dearly for that, right? That cost me a lot of money and a lot of time. But I did that for 10 years, and I learned just an incredible amount about the music business, because when you're an independent, you have to do everything you do. You're an A&R guy, you're a production guy, you're a studio guy, you're a distribution guy, you're royalty, residuals, licensing, you're everything.
Yep.
So I have a really broad knowledge of all aspects of the business, which is kind of unique in a lot of ways. A lot of agents, and I'm an agent and a buyer. I buy for tribal properties, Muckleshoot Casino in Seattle. I buy for Mazatol Casino in Payson, Arizona. And I also buy for Legends Casino in Toppenish, Washington.
Okay.
But excuse me. When you're an independent record guy and you have to know everything, you learn a great deal. So I can pretty much stand toe to toe with anybody and talk anything. It doesn't bother me. But I'm 60 years old too, so it's taken me a while to get here. But that's my history. And I went bankrupt in, not bankrupt, but I sold the record company in like 2001 and became an agent, and the live music business is strong. It's still healthy.
Good. What was COVID like for you guys in the bands that you work with and your venues?
It was hard, bands just stopped working, and there was a lot of uncertainty about what to do. I mean, sure. I can't tell you how many times I canceled a show, the same show.
Yeah.
Ambrosia is on my roster, and I canceled 5 dates with that band on the same venue because it couldn't possibly last more than 3 months, and couldn't possibly last more than 3 months, and then it just repeated itself.
Yeah. Well, and you're in one of the toughest markets when it came to that. Just being on the West Coast, and especially in California, for sure. What are some of the things that you learned through the COVID experience that you're going to continue to implement now that we're coming out of it?
Nobody knows nothing. That's number one. Loyalty is really great. And that change is bad unless it's good. So during that time, there were just massive amounts of layoffs.
Yeah.
And people that you'd been doing business with for 7, 8, 9, 10 years were gone.
Right.
They just vanished. They just let them go. Corporations let them go. Casinos let them go. So there was a new learning curve associated with who am I going to be dealing with now, and all of that stuff. And sadly, like many things in life, it was just completely dead until they turned the switch on, and then the phone was ringing off the hook, and you couldn't keep up with the business.
Yeah,
it became something that to this day, I've turned my phone off because it probably would ring 12 times during the course of this interview.
Are there some good things, in your opinion, that came out of this pandemic for live music?
I hadn't thought about that. I don't know if there's any really one good thing. I can't possibly think of people being unemployed and losing their businesses. And I feel sorry for the bands. I feel sorry for the people who are responsible for many other people, and they couldn't help them.
Right.
And I know a lot of bands, national acts, that are responsible for 100 people, 200 people.
Yeah.
And those people suffered. I just can't think of a good thing. Yeah.
Are there some procedures that you had to implement that you're going to continue to implement post-COVID?
Not necessarily any procedures, I think, that would be visible, but internally I did. I strengthened my contracts. I improved the pay. I paid my assistant so she did more and was able to do more. Just nothing that was visible, but just internally, I made the time to better my company.
Yeah, there you go.
While I had time.
Where did your passion for music come from? Where did that? Is there a certain age you can remember as a child saying, "Hey, I wanted to be part of this industry"?
I grew up in Encino, which is in the valley here in Los Angeles. And I remember as a kid, as far as I can remember, every time my dad would drive me by the Capitol Records building, which was right off the 101, I always knew I wanted to work there. That was always something that was in the back of my mind. Even when I was selling bonds, I was doing so well financially that I couldn't leave. And when it turned a little south, I made that opportunity to move and to change careers.
Yeah, very good. Very good. Yeah. Let's talk about talent and the bands and the acts that are out there now. What are some of the qualities and characteristics of the acts that you book for and that you look for bringing onto your roster?
For my roster as an agent, the thing I look for are really, I do primarily older people's music. Okay. I don't do young people's music. It's just not what I needed to do at the time.
Sure.
So I look for bands, heritage bands, or bands who are, whether they're top 40 bands or lounge bands or whatever, but good marketing. Good marketing is really critical. You'd be surprised how many people think an iPhone video of a performance is satisfactory.
Yeah.
To get them work. If you want to work and you want to make the bigger money, you need to pretend like you're already making the bigger money, and you need to have really good marketing materials, which includes a promotional video of what you do, no more than 2 minutes, but it needs to be well done and well shot. You can get a lot more money from the perception that you know what you're doing than you can by simply saying, well, wait until you see the band. And that doesn't work anymore.
Right. No, that's key.
Even these TikTokers you see, you look at this stuff and there's like an hour of lighting prep before they shoot these things. And they want you to make it feel like they just did it all of a sudden, which that's BS, right? They've been setting that shot up for a week. You know, they're like, but people don't know. They just buy into that whole philosophy, like, oh, they're just making it up as they go along. It's like, no, they're not.
No, very well scripted and well planned out, for sure. For sure. As a youth, as a kid, if you look back and you were giving advice to 11-year-old Steve, and knowing that, looking back where you're at now, what advice would you give to little Steve to help him get a little further quicker in the business?
That's a good question. For me, my route was a little different in that I had a financial reason not to make the move, but make the move as quickly as you can. My wife, who's an enormously successful television producer by anybody's standards, we moved out here. I was 30, she was 26. And she had never had any TV experience, but she wanted to move out here. And the first thing we did is we got her a page job at CBS. It took a minute, but literally she's working for like $5 an hour in 1993, escorting people into the CBS television city for the game shows, right? So the faster you can do that, the better, because the cream will rise to the top. If you're really good at what you do, you will be noticed, and you won't stay there very long. People will bring you along.
You just got her foot in the door being a page.
Yeah, it's exactly right. And it's like being a musician. When you step on that stage, you got about a 30-second honeymoon, right? And if you're fortunate enough to get into a band that, I don't know, a band that is a heritage band that is well known, like a Ned Ledoux or someone like that, right? Those guys, they know good. So if you're young and they give you a shot, you're 18, 19, and you're on stage, or if you're a television person, or even a record company executive, whatever it is that is, I don't even know what that is means anymore. But people will see you and they're like, that guy's good, or that gal's good, and then the word will spread. And then if you're just a nice person, show up on time, put a breath mint in your mouth, and just be polite. The industry is hungry for competent, hardworking people. There's no shortage in Hollywood or in Nashville for competent, hardworking people.
That's incredible. Yeah.
There's no reason why you can't make a decent living in the entertainment business if you're good, competent. Do those things. It's available to you. Don't think if you live in Wichita, whoever you're, I know were you in Tennessee? Where are you located, Jim?
Yeah, so I'm in Kansas now. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Guaranteed that there are people, and those people think like, I can't do it. It's like, no, you can't. You just got to get out here, try. Yeah. And then you'll know if you thrive, if you dig it, if you really dig the pressure and the competitive nature of it, you'll thrive. If you don't, you just go back home.
Yeah.
And there's no shame of that.
Right.
None whatsoever. Because people think they want to be something. And when they finally, like Joe Puerta, the bass player for Ambrosia, who is also a founding member of Bruce Hornsby and the Range, he had a wife, his brand new wife, Shannon, is just a wonderful person. She always wanted to be in the music business, I think. And when Joe finally equated it, like, well, she always loved sausage until she realized how they make sausage.
Yeah.
Now she doesn't like sausage so much.
Yeah, absolutely. You seem to have a very optimistic view of the future of live music. Am I perceiving that right?
Yeah. I mean, I don't care what happens.
Yeah.
People will always want to go see live music, and live anything, theater, plays, anything. It's never going to change. Now, there will be assisted things that will help you, like online, but I'm 60 and a lot of kids don't remember, man, when they invented cassette tapes, dude, the record companies fought that. They fought that like it was going to destroy recorded music, because you're going to be able to put it on a cassette, you're going to be able to record, and they're no longer going to buy vinyl. Of course, that wasn't true, right? That was fear mongering, and that was something that they used as a tool to try to get control of it, because they didn't have control of that.
Sure.
They didn't own the cassette tape. They threatened copyright. So it's all BS, right? It's like everyone's fearful they're going to lose their power structure. Hell, they should have been more worried about Napster. Right. Because when I was in a publishing meeting in Hollywood 1997, I remember sitting around an independent publisher's desk, and there was an attorney, I can't remember his name, but he told everybody in the audience, the big players, Sony, Warner Chappell, all of them were there. They were like, you better pay attention to this. And they're like, no way, dude. It's like, we're Warner Chappell. How are we not going to win? Right? We always win. Well, the internet fixed that, right? Yeah. They got to be paying attention. So just pay attention,
Yeah, no, that makes sense. That makes sense. Is there anything that you want to add for our listeners? Really range from artists and bands to people who are in the middle of a career change. This pandemic has put a lot of people, in their homes, and they're comfortable there. They want to stay there. but they also watch these and listen to these podcasts because they have a passion for live music. Is there anything that you really want to tell them or add to their day today?
Jake, I can only say if if you want to try something and do something, try it. Because Steven Spielberg said that if you want to be a movie maker, you don't need a deal.
Yeah.
You don't need a budget. All you need is a friggin' iPhone and the ability to tell a story. Because if you're good, people will recognize that and you'll be brought on board. If you're not good, then you'll just get the Hollywood no and there'll be silence, right?
Right.
But don't wait for anybody, because there's no need. It's easier now to be in the game than it ever has been. Yeah. The problem is there's millions more people in the game.
That's right.
So you got to cut through, right?
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's out there for you if you want it, but it's friggin' hard, dude.
Yeah.
This is not an easy town for entertainment, nor is Nashville or Austin. There's a lot of talented people out there who never get recognized.
Yeah.
I used to have bins and bins and bins of CDs and cassette tapes. Like my wife has hundreds of scripts that she loves, but there's just no place for them.
Yeah.
It's a crapshoot. So you're lucky if you get noticed.
Yeah.
Don't F it up if you do. Right?
Exactly.
Be smart. And Brian O'Neill, the founder of the band called the Bus Boys, his motto is you never have any enemies. Just whatever anybody's done to you, forget it. Just open your eyes wider. Another friend. Well, baby, I'm on it with a bottle of wine and no Joe Road, and you're ready to go. Man, don't ever turn away from anybody, no matter what they've done to you, because you just never know how that relationship may unwind and unfold. Don't hold grudges, man.
That's the third time that I've heard that piece of advice in the last probably 18 hours. That is definitely and it was a similar analogy. Just never burn a bridge. Just don't
hold a grudge, right? Don't do it, because the rule of thumb is there's very few people who can help you, but there's a ton of people who can hurt you.
Yeah.
And someone could say something like, "Hey man, Jake Gill called me and he wanted to do that podcast to look cool." And all someone would have to say is, "Really?" Yeah. And you didn't say anything, right? But you've planted a seed of doubt in that person's mind that would say, well, maybe I'm not going to do that. Obviously, you've been a great host. You're a super talented guy and a super friendly guy, and I'm happy to be here. But I use that as an example.
Absolutely.
It's like, I'm going to go on that Jake Gill podcast. Yeah. All right. Well, good luck with that.
Yeah. Absolutely.
You didn't say anything,
right?
But that's the way you can be hurt. And if you keep your mouth shut and you just take the blows and accept it and just keep moving on, those people aren't going to say bad things about you.
Yeah.
They're not.
No, that's great advice.
You didn't burn that bridge, right?
Yeah, that's great.
And this town, Nashville. Yeah. What's that saying, right? Like, be nice to everybody on the way up. Yeah. Because you're going to see them all again on the way down.
Yep, you do. I don't struggle with stardom in any of that anymore, because I've often just admitted to myself, I see guys who have played the arenas and now they're back down playing casinos and clubs where they started. And I never want to have the ego that I can't do that. I never want to. I always told people it's why I never took steroids when I played football in college, because I could never be small again. You get so strong and so muscular. How are you ever going to look at yourself in the mirror again? And so I've just always cherished just that constant rise of getting better and better. And so that's just my personal journey, but I'm sure that's not how it happens. There's some people that the moment they hit Nashville, boom, they're skyrocketing. And if you can't handle it, you do come down almost quicker than you go to the top, So that's where a lot of the wisdom that you're going to give our listeners is just so valuable. And I guess I'm just a little surprised of your optimism and your outlook, because you do work in a state that to the rest of the country has been so closed off. You know, the mandates have been so strict, and I guess I was a little surprised at your optimism and your outlook. So I think it's just the attitude that you've carried through this whole thing. And like you said, even though you've never been through a pandemic before, you went through losing a business, you know, in an industry that took a hit very similar to what the industry took now, you know. And so I think that was an area that you were prepared, whether you knew it was coming or not. You were able to withstand that because you knew that there's going to be an end, you know.
Yeah, and keep in mind, when the record business collapsed, there was no bailouts.
Right.
Nobody gave a, can I cuss?
Yeah, you're good.
Nobody gave a shit about the record companies, because the record companies were evil. They ripped people off, blah, 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 whatever.
Right.
We got punished. Sure. Bad because of technology. And I'm a small record guy. I never had a hit act ever. So I spent money making records that sounded great, but nobody bought them.
Yeah.
So I never tasted the sweet stuff. I just got the sour grapes.
Right.
When you spend $500,000-$600,000 of your own money, and people take a CD, they pop it in, and they're like, and you say, "What do you think?" And like, it's okay.
Yeah.
No. I have $75,000 in that record.
Yeah.
No. You're not going to put it away. That, and then, it's just okay. I don't hear it.
Yeah.
It's like that will, if you're a musician and on stage and you're writing a song and you're pouring your heart out and people are walking out the door, you've experienced that.
Yeah.
You've experienced that. If you're a comic and you're talking and you're just killing it, and people are just talking and you're like, why isn't anybody paying attention to me?
Yeah.
If you felt that kind of sting, that's what it's like to be a record executive and to put your own money into it, and to think these bands are worthy, and for people just to think they're not crap and to walk away. And it's a tough nut, man. People watch American Idol and they see this and they're so great. It's all fabricated. It's all fake.
Yeah.
It's all fake. It's TV, right? It's not real, but people think they know.
Yeah.
And by the time it makes it to a normal person's ears, it's been so Hollywoodized, right? Or so Nashvilleized,
right?
Polished like a fine stone. But it seems, they just got famous, or but it's what people want. It's what Hollywood wants. So it's what Nashville wants.
Yeah.
That perception that it's so easy.
Very much so.
The reality is it's hard. It's expensive. It's challenging. It's a lot of drama. You love sausage until you see it made. And it's like,
how it's made,
not so much, you know.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah. Well, Steve, thanks for joining me today.
Okay, buddy.
So much good. You have a tremendous soul and passion for the industry, and wow, we definitely need more of you. That's for sure. As it goes through, I'm sure that your buyers and your venues and your acts, you just got to be super blessed to be working with you. So
I appreciate that. Thank you very much. And I would encourage everyone to stay positive, because whatever happens, it's all BS. I'm 60. I'm going to die in 15 years or whatever, but there's going to be new stuff behind me. Yeah. And it's never going to change. It's always going to be difficult. And there's always going to be opportunity, no matter what you do. You got to find it, but you got to hunt. You got to work hard, because no one's going to give it to you. So you had two fun questions. One question was best show you've ever seen in your life.
Yep.
Okay. I used to own a satellite company, and I used to do all the internet streaming and video streaming for Coachella and Stagecoach, right?
Okay.
I'd take a trailer out there, and AT&T didn't put a fiber optic plug out there until about 12 years ago. So before that, I did all the streaming for Skip and for AEG. I saw Tool, Coachella 2006.
Okay.
Unbelievable show. I wish I knew the front of house guy's name, but it was a British dude. And it was the best sounding concert I've ever been to in my life.
Wow.
And Tool was fantastic.
Yeah.
Just fantastic. And then Dream Act to see Dead or Alive. I never saw the Grateful Dead with Jerry Garcia.
Okay.
Sadly, I should have done that. I was more of like in the 80s, I was a In Excess guy. And,
right.
You know, Depeche Mode and Tracy Chapman and stuff like that. But I wasn't a Dead guy, but I would have appreciated seeing Jerry Garcia with the Dead. So that's the answer to that question.
Very good. Very good. Very good. Well, thanks for joining us today, Steve.
Okay, Jake.
You guys check out Steve and his entertainment company, just anywhere and everywhere across the West Coast.
Selak Entertainment. You got it.
Doing great things for the industry. So I thank you for coming on today, Steve.
You bet. Jake, thank you so much. Good luck to you. And thank you for the opportunity.
Well, baby, I'm on it with a bottle of